Hello and welcome to ATP's presentation on how to get your session accepted at the ATP 2016 Innovations in Testing Conference. My name is Rachel Schoenig. I'm the 2016 Program Chair, and with me today is Rory McCorkle, the 2016 Program Vice Chair. We're delighted that you've joined us today. There's so much expertise and innovative ideas in the industry, and ATP wants to be the place where those ideas and expertise is shared. We continue to grow and attract some of the industry's best talent and most innovative ideas for 3 days of networking, inspiration, and collaboration. So if you're interested in presenting at the 2016 conference, we definitely want to hear from you. Our goal today is to help you submit a successful session. We're going to review content considerations, how to submit your session, and the submission and evaluation process. So let's get started. Rory?
Thank you, Rachel. Before you begin going into the process of submitting your proposal for a session, we want to make sure that you consider what you're going to be submitting, and really first off asking yourself, what value is your session going to bring to conference attendees? What are you going to be educating them about? And taking the time to brainstorm that, outline it, whatever you need to do to get it in a format that you're comfortable with before you put it into the abstract form that will be required for the submission. Take the time to write it out so that you're clear what you want to present and can effectively collaborate with your co-presenters if you have them. When you're looking at what you might consider for your content, consider a couple things. First off, innovation. Certainly the latest and greatest technology or new processes and methods that we have fall into this category, but innovation isn't limited to that. Think about traditional methods that you might be applying in new ways or processes that you might be using with a different audience. All of these would be examples of innovation that you would want to highlight in your presentation. Case studies, year after year, the best rated sessions that we see are those that show how they've applied the concepts they're presenting via case study, what they actually did with it. And these, again, are just absolutely well received by the ATP audience. Definitely where you can include this type of application, these case studies, when you're preparing your session. Is your session cross-divisional? Remember that ATP has 5 different divisions as well as the security committee. So the more that you can appeal to, the better off you will be. This is certainly factored into the evaluation of your session, so the more that you can do to either present multiple perspectives for multiple presenters or ensuring that your content is broad enough to appeal to individuals from the various divisions. We'll talk about what those divisions are in just a little bit. Also consider the expertise of your audience. There's a variety of experience levels that are represented at ATP. You could have individuals that have been in the industry for 30 years or those who literally got their first testing job 2 months ago. Consider that carefully as you design your content. In addition, keep in mind that there's various specialties. You will have individuals that are working as CEOs and executive directors of the organization, to those who are managing testing programs, to specialty roles such as those who are processing applications for a test or those who are performing specialty security roles, audits, that type of thing. Ensure that you're considering those perspectives as you develop your content. How best to present your content? There's a variety of different ways that we have via session types. You're allowed to pick from several different session types as you consider how you might want to present your content. Think about this very carefully so that you make sure that you pick a type that will work best for your content and your presentation style. Finally, diverse group of speakers. It's going to be a requirement for you if you are doing a workshop or a breakout session to have at least 2 presenters representing 2 different companies. But in addition to that, how are the individuals that you have presenting going to represent different perspectives? How will they engage individuals? This will be very critical for your content. Finally, it's important to think about what we don't want. And number 1 on that list is sales pitches in disguise as a presentation. Of course, it's very important to ATP to connect those who are looking for business services with potential vendors. But given the importance of education to everyone who's at the conference, we'll leave that piece of ATP in the exhibit hall, and we'll focus in our sessions here on education, training, and delivering value to those who are at the conference. So now that you've given consideration to your content, Rachel's going to begin to walk us through the submission process. Rachel?
Thanks, Roy. So what you see on the screen is the first page of the submission portal. It's designed to elicit the information that Rory just went over, the information that you should have hopefully already spent some time thinking about. We want to just walk through these fields with you so that you know what you'll need to submit through each of these phases. The first question is session type. ATP has 6 session types. The first are breakout sessions. This is a pretty traditional 60-minute interactive presentation. Rory had talked about case studies or new methodologies, and breakout sessions are a great way to present that information. Workshops are designed to be 90 minutes of structured group interaction. Make sure that as you're considering what type of session time you want to submit, if you are submitting a workshop, that you've considered and described how you're going to involve and engage the audience during the workshop. Ignite sessions are relatively unique presentations that last for about 5 minutes. There's 20 slides that will automatically advance at 15-second intervals for a total presentation time of 5 minutes. It's going to take place again in a separate room this year, and afterwards you'll have the opportunity to speak with attendees in a roundtable format. Fishbowl sessions are 60-minute moderated open discussion sessions on various topics. The room setup for fishbowl sessions is a key. There'll be speakers in the center of the room and then extra chairs in the perimeter to allow attendees to not only share in the discussion but actually join in the center of the room to help lead the discussion. E-poster sessions are 6-minute repeating electronic presentations for a total time of 2 hours. And product demonstrations are computer-based presentations that showcase the latest technologies, products, services, or solutions in the testing industry. A product demonstration should last around 10 minutes and repeat throughout a 1.5-hour time frame, which will be opposite a workshop time slot. All demonstrations must be shown via computer or other technology. ATP will provide a large flat-screen monitor, and you'll need to provide your own laptop computer. We do have something new this year for product demonstrations, and that is that there will be an award for the most innovative product demo. ATP will be hosting a contest asking attendees to vote for the most innovative product demonstration. The winner will receive 1 complimentary conference registration to the 2017 ATP Innovations in Testing Conference. In addition to the type, you'll be asked for your objective and session abstract. Give some thought to a catchy and somewhat descriptive title, and all that brainstorming work that you did earlier will come in handy when you draft your abstract. Your abstract is only 2,400 characters long, so you'll need to clearly and concisely describe your content and explain why people would want to join your session. Also, something to remember about your abstract is that if your session is accepted, your abstract will appear in the program. So take some time to carefully craft and polish your abstract.
Once you put in your title and abstract, you'll need to select the session topic that your submission applies to. Naturally, you've already done the good due diligence in your thought through the topic, so it's really just a matter of choosing the right area that your session falls into. This is important so that we have a balanced set of sessions and can set separate tracks for these sessions through the program. Program design is the first area that you could choose. These are all of the design considerations that go on when you're establishing a testing program. This could be the goal, purpose, vision of a testing program, the roles of various stakeholders or various departments that interact with that program, the stakes involved, and of course, setting objectives for this program. Legislation, policy, and accessibility area as the name implies, would focus on legislative mandates, all the legal and regulatory issues that concern the testing industry, as well as accessibility and accommodations and the connected legislative mandates that go with that area. Measurement and psychometrics is a rather broad area that covers a variety of different testing and measurement issues. This would include the entire test development or item development life cycle, subjects such as job analysis, standard setting, the various test theories such as IRT, classical test theory, issues concerning the exam's validity and reliability, and new areas of research into measurement. Security and privacy would focus on security issues, but include things such as biometrics, data forensics, prevention, detection, and enforcement within the security space, as well as data privacy. Data management would focus on all aspects of the data life cycle. This would be collection, transmission, processing, storage, analysis, and reporting. It's important to note that data in this case not only concerns customer information in data, so things score reports would fall into this category. Business strategy and operations focuses on the business of testing. Things such as marketing, branding, program management, and how you build relationships with various stakeholders or other organizations would fall into this space. Finally, test administration and delivery models, all those things around the ways that we get our tests to those candidates, whether it's via paper and pencil, computer-based testing, internet-based testing, those that are remotely proctored or not proctored, all of those considerations and models would fall into this category. Now, I mentioned earlier on as well the fact that there's individuals of various levels of experience there. Accordingly, we have a track specifically for the fundamentals of testing. These are sessions that are intended for those who do not perhaps have the length and experience in the industry and would be a good introduction to that particular area of content. So if this applies to your session, please ensure that you select it so that we can gear it appropriately with regard to where it falls in the program. So those are the first several points that you need to fill out and complete on the ATP submission page. But wait, there's a few more. And the next area of this page is really designed to get information about your preferred room setup, if you have one, your target audience, the objectives for your session, as well as speaker information. So Rachel's going to walk through the first couple fields. Rachel?
So the submission process asks for your ideal room setup. There's several to choose from, so consider what type of room setup best lends itself to an engaging session based on your topic. Theater style means there's chairs only in straight rows facing the front of the room. Classroom has chairs with tables in front of them in straight rows, again, facing the front of the room. Fishbowl is rather unique. In a fishbowl setting, the speakers are in the center with several extra chairs for conference attendees to share and be a part of the discussion. This setup will require a minimum of 2 and maximum of 4 presenters or moderators. The attendee chairs will be positioned around the presenters, and there's no tables in this setup at all. Round tables are exactly what you would expect. They're banquet rounds with approximately 8 chairs around each round table. And of course, if your session does not require any special format or setup, please let us know that as well. We mentioned earlier that you'll want to consider the divisions that your topic or your presentation will appeal to. ATP has 5 divisions as well as the Security Committee. Certification and Licensure, Education, Clinical, IO, and Workforce Skills Credentialing Committee, the newest division, will be considered as part of important considerations in selecting your presentation. So give careful consideration to your target audience and select which division or divisions are most likely to be attracted to your session. Rory?
After you complete this information, we're going to ask about your objectives. Here it's really critical for you to tell us what you believe the attendee will gain by attending your session. This could be as few as one statement or as many as 5 or more. We'd encourage you to add multiple statements, multiple objectives that state the various things that you might cover in your session. Make sure these are clear and convey, again, how your session would address a learning need that you believe attendees might have. We've talked about innovation before. Hopefully you've put some thought into how your session demonstrates innovation in the testing industry. That's what we want you to cover here. Please tell us very clearly how that will be demonstrated through your session so that we can keep the theme of innovations in testing in the program. Finally, you'll be asked to provide speaker information. You will be required to identify the speaker's name, the company for whom they work, their email address, and the country they're located in. Keep in mind if you are doing a breakout or a workshop session, you are required to have a minimum of 2 speakers representing at least 2 separate organizations. Any sessions that do not have this minimum will be rejected without review. Now that we've talked about the process and what you'll be putting into your submission, Rachel's going to talk about how we take all of these submissions that we get and evaluate them to determine what goes in the final program for ATP Innovations in Testing 2016. Rachel?
Thanks, Rory. After July 13th, all submissions that have been presented to ATP will go through a review process. Each submission is reviewed and rated through a blind review process by 4 separate reviewers. Those ratings are then presented to the program committee to review and select the most relevant and highly rated content, and will review to ensure that topics and divisions are properly represented in the submissions. Submitters will be notified whether their submission was accepted or not in October of 2015. If your session is selected, you'll be asked to sign a speaker agreement at that time. Remember that if you've submitted an Ignite submission and it's preliminarily accepted, you'll be required to work with a presentation coach to determine whether the content and your presentation is aligned with those session formats before your submission receives final approval.
Keep in mind that we review all of the submissions for 4 different criteria. Number 1, clarity. Are the objectives, the abstract, the outcomes, and your audience for the session clearly described? With relevance, does the session have key content to the testing industry, and is it clear how this would apply to your intended audience? We've covered innovation, and certainly we want to ensure that your session covers that in its content. Finally, breadth. Does your session cross 2 or more divisions? Does it have that appeal for multiple audiences? Also keep in mind during the selection process, we may, for the purposes of the program, need to combine session proposals that are submitted with others. And in addition, we do reserve the right to edit any session titles and abstracts. This could be for space, clarity, or marketing purposes.
We encourage you to plan early. The sooner you can start, the better. That allows you plenty of time to polish your content and your learning objectives, and also to find the right speakers to join you in your presentation. Keep in mind the submission period will be open through July 13th, 2015. So thanks so much for taking the time to join us here today.